I made some poor decisions this weekend, and the worst part is what's in this box isn't the only thing that I bought. This weekend I had the absolute pleasure of going to the Detroit Retro Gaming Show for my second time, but their fourth iteration of the show, and I have to say, this was incredible. I'm still pretty new to these kinds of events overall, but if you saw my video covering the last one in November of 2023, I have to say, the show between then and now has evolved like in the most wildest but coolest possible way. So of course I decided to vlog my experience again, but this time with a little bit of a twist. Hi everybody, my name's Alex, aka Quality, and welcome back to the channel. Now before we get into anything, I do have to give a very special shout out to Andy and the rest of the team from the Detroit Retro Gaming Show. They let me and TJ come and be VIPs. It was so exciting and it meant so much. We got these little guest passes, which, oh my gosh, I was so happy. It made me so happy. So again, thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot, and we'll get into the more emotional aspect of it later, but you know, being a small YouTuber and then being asked like, hey, like, we saw your video and we really appreciated it. Do you want to come and be a VIP? I was like, yes! Like, that's awesome. That's so cool. So again, thank you guys so much. It was such an incredible experience, and I'm so tickled. I'm so tickled. So as I said, I wanted to kind of do a twist on this vlog. The first vlog that I did for the first Detroit Retro Gaming Show that I went to was kind of more of a, this is my first time ever doing this kind of thing. And not that I am a seasoned game show veteran at this point in time, I wanted to kind of add a little bit of new stuff into this one as well. Of course, I will show you all of the things I bought. I went a lot crazier this year than I did at the previous show, so, which was a good thing and maybe a bad thing, question mark. I can tell you one thing right now, I regret not spending more money, so maybe that's a positive, I don't know. But from the last show, I had noticed a few certain things, and I wanted to kind of see if we'd see them again at this show. So TJ and I decided to make a little bit of a scavenger hunt out of it. We both made individual lists of things that we either wanted to buy or just to witness at the show. If you want to see how we did on our little scavenger hunt, you know, watch the whole video. That's the first time I've ever said anything like that in a video, and it feels kind of weird, but it's true. So if you want to see how well we did on our individual scavenger hunt lists, watch to the end of the video. Plus you'll see all of the things that I bought in addition to whatever I might have gotten off of my scavenger hunt list too. But let me start with TJ's to buy list. So TJ's to buy list ended up being an N64 controller because a lot of his have the same kind of stick issues that most N64 controllers have. A new SNES controller, because he only has one. Tetris and Dr. Mario for the SNES, which the story with this one is this is a game that we just play pretty often on his SNES Mini. We both really like it. It was kind of a big game early on in our relationship, so it'd be nice to have physically. And then finally, someone to fix his SNES. So TJ's SNES, he bought it off of eBay maybe like 6 months ago, maybe, and it's a really clean console, but the problem is it has some sound issues. So no matter what TV he plugs it into, it's just, there's something wrong with the sound, and it's kind of grating. It's really sad because I even bought a Mario Paint this past year and he hasn't been able to play it yet. So he was really hoping that he could find somebody just at the Retro Game Show to hopefully maybe fix his console, or at least get a lead on who might be available to fix his console. So even if he wasn't putting money down on a repair today at the show, it's kind of like a promise of a future spending of money, I suppose. And when it came to things that TJ really wanted to see, he wanted to see if any vendor had a retro emulation handheld, which being like a Mii U Mini, a Retroid, something like that. TJ is very into those handhelds, and they're pretty cool. I'm not as into them because I'm just, you know, I'm a physical collector. I like to have all of my stuff physically, but these little handhelds are really freaking cool. So he wanted to see if anybody would have one of those. It would have been interesting to see if that was something people were offering. The other thing that he wanted to see was something Elder Scrolls physically. Now, I can't really remember his explanation for this, but it was something he wanted to see, but not necessarily pick up. And when it comes to my to-buy list, This list could have been way bigger, but because TJ had 4, I wanted to stick to 4 as well. For me, I really wanted to pick up Dragon Warrior on the NES. It's just a game that I don't have for my NES, and I've always wanted it. I want to really kind of foster my NES collection a little bit more. Most of the games that I have for my NES were my dad's, so a lot of them are sports games that are still sitting at my grandpa's right now. So I don't have a lot of the NES classics. And since I bought The Legend of Zelda at the last show, I figured it would make sense to maybe try to pick up an NES game at this one too. Next up is Harvest Moon Sunshine Islands for the DS, loose, or just something to bolster my Harvest Moon collection. I've mentioned this a little bit ago that I would really like to have a full Harvest Moon collection at some point in time. It's a series that means a lot to me, and I really, really love it a lot. And Sunshine Island specifically is a game that I have the box for, I have the manual for, and I lost the game for many years ago. I don't think there's any chance of ever finding it again, so it'd be really nice to finally pick that game up again to add back to my collection, but I would take any other Harvest Moon thing as well. Another thing that I really wanted to buy was a gaming item that wasn't a game. So the cool thing about the Detroit Retro Game Show is they have a lot of vendors that are selling art or other such items that just are gaming related but aren't necessarily games. So I really wanted to support some artists at the show as well. So that was another thing I wanted to buy. And finally, if you remember the dramatic saga from my last retro game show video, is that I desperately want to add a Game Boy Color back to my collection, namely the teal one, because that is the one that I grew up with and I no longer have it. So a teal Game Boy Color was also on my list of things to buy. Finally, on my things to see, this first one is a little strange, but I swear, nobody I went with the first time witnessed this except me, so I felt it really important to try to see again. At the very first retro game show, there was a point where just different vendors started bringing out Virtual Boys. They didn't have them when I first showed up, but they just all showed up at the same time where people just started putting Virtual Boys. I don't know if this is a thing that like game collectors or like game stores do when they go to these shows. They just have their secret Virtual Boy ready to put on the counter when the time is right. I don't know. But it happened to the first one, and I wanted to see if it would happen at the second one, because again, then I know I'm not crazy. I know it's a thing that happens. The other thing I wanted to see, which is kind of a weird one, but I wanted to see Chrono Trigger, both in the DS and the SNES form. That's a game that I don't have for either SNES or DS, and I don't think it's what I'm going to be able to pick up for quite a while unless I get the Japanese version of the DS game, which would be fine, but in terms of US versions, they're games that are mega expensive, so I kind of just wanted to see them and see what all of these different collectors and stuff were pricing them at. So that was the other thing I wanted to see. So yeah, we'll see how TJ and I did on these lists as we go through the day. So we woke up bright and early in order to get to the show by 9 a.m. because that's when the VIPs were being let in. And again, I am so grateful to have been able to get in just as a guest at that same time as everybody else, but I would be honest, that extra hour was so nice. I would 100% pay for the VIP. It's not that expensive, but it's so worth it because you get that extra hour, not just to kind of scope out what each vendor has, but also to just talk to vendors. Like, as the day went on, it got so crowded, which was so cool to see, but just having that extra hour to just kind of chat and like, I don't know, catch up with people, it was really, 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 really nice. I felt very cool, I'll be honest, but yeah, it just allowed for better conversations to be had, and then yeah, scoping out, kind of thinking like, okay, I might come back for this later, let's see how this is doing in like an hour, stuff like that. Totally worth it. I would absolutely pay for VIP because it was so worth it. And of course, there were tons of vendors, anywhere from local game stores in the Detroit area to just private collectors, and the vibe was so nice. Everybody is so nice. I can't even. Everybody was super chill. And it was just a really good vibe. And like, everybody was super nice at the first one, but again, being in a bigger location from the last time was so cool. Everybody was so much more spread out this year, and it was just so nice. That was something I had said about the show in the last video that I did, where it was a really great time, but it was super cramped. It was super cramped. This new location is like, oh, it was gorgeous. I hope they never move unless they get way too big that they have to move again, but like, It was perfectly spaced. There was plenty of walking space between different vendors and the different aisles and stuff. Everything was super laid out super well. So you had all your artists in this area, all of your consoles over here, all of like your stores, private collectors. It was just, oh, it was beautifully organized. It was so nice. But so yeah, getting a lay of the land was really easy this time around. And because of that, and being there so early, TJ and I were already scoping out things that we wanted to buy. The very first thing for me was a PlayStation, original PlayStation. Now, the tale of why I no longer have my PlayStation is a tale for a different video, but I've been wanting to get a PlayStation again for the longest time. So I was keeping that one on my radar. It was really beautiful, really great price. I had to stop myself though, because I did not want to carry a console around with me the rest of the show. Not only that, but TJ and I were seeing a ton of other things, plenty of really great PlayStation 1 games, lots of great DS, GameCube games all over the place. Of course, you had your big winners that were gonna be way more expensive than some of the other games, but there was a pretty nicely curated collection from everyone there. Like, again, you had kind of your cheaper games, but you had your big hitters. It was really great. There were also some really nicely priced Switch games too at a lot of different places, which I wasn't really looking for Switch games this time around because of my recent Switch purchases, which again, different video. But it's always a good idea for me to keep my eye out for games that especially are really high on my list of games I want to buy for good prices. Like for example, there was a really nice copy of Bravely Default 2, brand new, super beautiful, but I ended up passing it up. Just, it was a good price, but I had other priorities that day instead. The other cool thing, it was really nice to see some familiar vendors as well as some brand new vendors too. I got to see Marshall Cooley, which if I mispronounced your last name, let me know, but that's who I bought Animal Crossing from last time, and I might have bought something from him again as well. But it was really nice to see a familiar face and also have them recognize me too. That felt really weird. I probably won't get used to that for a while, but it was really cool. And again, lots of new faces too. The variety this time around was so good, and a lot of that is because they kind of expanded the show to not just be retro games, but also anime. Again, having a lot more artists this time around. Like, there was a lot of different interests all in one area. Another really cool thing that I really loved about the show this year was there was a pretty good amount of indie representation too. There were a few indie demos provided by Low Blast, one of which being Orange Island, which is a game that TJ and I have been waiting for a long time. A very long time. There's also a group called Howdy Rice Ball who made a GBA game in the modern age called Cat and Boy. Really cool thing. They had a Game Boy that you could test out the game with. Oh, hi Luna. Speaking of cats. But so they had a Game Boy demoing their game, and it was just really cool to see at the Detroit Retro Gaming Show. It wasn't something that I was expecting, but something I really hope that they can expand on in the more homebrew custom console kind of thing later on. They also had a really good representation of different arcade cabinets, a lot of which were actually Japanese arcade cabinets. I played this one, I think it was like Voltex something. It was a rhythm game. And I had never played it before. I think I've seen it at different arcades, but I've never played it before, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't very good at it. It takes me a little bit to get good at rhythm games despite my musical background, but it was really cool. And just having that among others there was a really cool thing. So if you needed to take a break from looking at the different games to buy or just wanted to game with your friends, that was a great thing to do. And similar to the show that they had in November, they also had a bunch of consoles set up for people to play. Like, I saw some people playing Melee, and then there was this one game, I don't even remember what TJ and I were playing, but it was, I hadn't seen it before, I didn't know what it was, but it was pretty sweet. Like, the variety they had between slightly more modern and retro consoles was really cool. Hi, Luna. Yeah, there was just a lot of things to do other than shop, which I really appreciated. And just like last time, they had giveaways going on throughout the day, and it was just a really cool experience. It's really nice to see just a bunch of gaming people all come together in one area, and it was awesome. It definitely added a lot to the show since November, and it worked out really well. The flow of the event was beautiful. It was a great time. It was a really great time. But back to the individual adventures that TJ and I had. So yeah, we spent the greater part of the morning walking around the floor, talking to people, seeing different things, hemming and hawing about things that we really wanted to buy, and eventually we made quite a few purchasing decisions. Me more than him. All while doing that, we crossed off quite a bit of our individual scavenger hunt list. So one of the first things that was crossed off was TJ ended up getting a really nice N64 controller. It's one of the gold ones and it was in beautiful condition. Not only was the controller clean, but the stick was so nice. It was so good. And it was $55, but honestly, for the price and the fact that it was the gold edition, we both thought that was pretty darn cool. They also had another red one that was in really similar condition, but I kind of egged TJ on to get the gold one instead. Unfortunately, I can't remember exactly who the vendor was for that, but they had a lot of really nice N64 controllers, so go them. That's sometimes a very rare find, so that's one check off of TJ's list. Not only that, but TJ was also able to find somebody that would be able to repair his SNES. So Reboot is a store in the area, but they also do a lot of repairs. Like, I think that's kind of their main thing that they do. So TJ was able to talk to them and kind of explain the issues with the SNES, so I'm pretty sure that's who TJ is gonna end up taking his SNES to, but more updates on that in the future, maybe, if people are interested, I guess. However, TJ did not get an SNES controller this time around, nor could we find Tetris and Dr. Mario. We both searched quite a bit and we just couldn't find anybody that had it, which, I mean, it's not like a rare SNES game, I don't think, but it has been kind of hard to find just in game stores in general. But at something like this, it was very interesting that we didn't see like hide nor hair of it whatsoever. So unfortunately, he didn't end up getting that or an SNES controller. Unfortunately, for things that TJ wanted to see, he was 0 for 0 on that one. There weren't any retro emulation handhelds that we could see. However, there were some really cool modded consoles and Joy-Cons that were like, they were so cool. They were so well done and so cool. I don't have the name of who they were on me right now. If I got a video of it, then I'll put it in the video right now, but regardless, their work was so incredible. So not the same thing, but definitely still worth a shout out for sure, because gosh, the amount of handcraftedness that went into their various consoles, and they were doing everything from handhelds. They had a reshelled Famicom, which was really freaking cool. Oh gosh, they were amazing. So no retro emulation handhelds, but we saw some pretty cool handhelds anyways. And we didn't see anything Elder Scrolls. I guess that doesn't mean that it wasn't there, but from what TJ was looking, I'll be fair, I wasn't really looking all that much. TJ couldn't find anything, so there's that. For me, because I'm gonna show you all of the things I got, I'm gonna start on the list of the things I did not get this time around. Unfortunately, I was not able to pick up Harvest Moon Sunshine Islands. I look everywhere for that game. It's so nowhere to be found. I was even looking on eBay today just to see kind of what it was going for, and there's like 3 people selling loose copies of the game. I didn't think it was that rare, but I don't know. I'm getting scared for this aspect of my search. I also was very unable to get a teal Game Boy Color. Funnily enough, there was a Game Boy Color that I saw at the show in November, and the reason I didn't pick it up is because the screen was popping out, which isn't a big deal, but especially if I'm gonna pay a decent amount of money for it, I really wanna make sure it's in good condition so that way it'll last. I'm not very good at screen replacements, as in I've never done them, so maybe I am good, but I just don't know. But it's not something that I'm willing to buy a console and bank on my ability to change out a screen like that for, so that was kind of a pass for me. However, there was gonna be something else that I was gonna buy instead of a Game Boy Color. So I do not 100% remember who the vendor was. I'm pretty sure it was Jake's Retro World, but I'm really not positive. But they had beautiful Game Boy Advances with brand new screens. I'm pretty sure they said that they had rechargeable batteries, and they were at such a good price too. One console that I really want to pick up is the clear pink Game Boy Advance. I have a Game Boy Advance SP, which I love, but I'd like to have one of the original ones as well. And the pink is just really cute. And these ones were so beautiful. And again, they were really fairly priced. I wanted one so badly, and towards the end of the day, which I'll kind of explain a little bit more when I show you what I did buy, I was torn between that and something else, and I went with the something else. But as we were walking out, I really regretted not just getting both, because I think I really wanted both of them the same amount, and I did pretty well with my budget, I will say, so I definitely had room in the budget for it, but it was a poor decision. So if I was talking to you about your Game Boy Advances and was hemming and hawing and really liked the pink ones and told you I was gonna buy one and I didn't buy one, and you still have those Game Boy Advances, let me know because I'd really like to buy one still. And it's a long shot, you might not be watching this video or you might have already sold them, but if you didn't and you are watching this video, hit me up because I'm very interested still. So unfortunately I did not come home with any Game Boys. Now for the things I saw though, the Virtual Boy phenomenon is real. It was about noon, I think, when I started seeing Virtual Boys. One vendor brought out this beautiful one that not only came with the console, but it came with a carrying case, Mario Tennis, and the manual, which is pretty sick for a crispy $400. Which, hey, Virtual Boys are very expensive, so I understand, but that was cool to see. But then I turn around and another person has a Virtual Boy out. I swear, it's a phenomenon. They were not there when we got there that morning. They were not. They just showed up. So I believe that this truly is just a game show phenomenon. And I mean, again, my sample size of things I've went to is not very big, but it happened twice already. If it happens a third time at the show in November, it's a thing. It's just a thing. Maybe it's an unspoken thing about game shows, but it is a thing. I swear on my life. I have video footage this time. So I felt very happy that I saw that. And of course, there was plenty of Chrono Trigger. Like, there was a lot. Almost, I wouldn't say every table, but a good chunk of tables had at least one version of Chrono Trigger. And unfortunately, the prices are sitting at about exactly where I expected them to be, which is like 120 a lot of the time. The DS one especially is kind of floating in that 110, 120 area, which it's the definitive edition of the game. So I very much so understand. I would love to add it someday, but maybe not anytime soon. And then the SNES was kind of floating around the same price from what I could see, so again, a distant dream that maybe someday I will pick up, but we'll see. But now, let's get into the part that I think a lot of people were waiting for, what I did buy. So we're saving the box I showed at the beginning for last, because that is kind of like the big thing, I would say. In fact, I actually want to start with my non-game related items first. So as I had said, I really wanted to pick up some items that weren't games, but gaming related. So I did get quite a few of those, starting with these little pins. And unfortunately, I do not remember the vendor I bought these from, but they are beautiful. I actually got 3 of them, but I gave one to TJ. So here's the one that made me fall in love. This little hat mouse pin. It's beautiful. Hat Mouse is from Stardew Valley, for those who don't know, but it's just, you don't see much Hat Mouse merch. So I had to pick it up, and it's a really, really nice sized pin, totally made out of wood, totally painted, beautiful. And then the other one I got was just this little Michigan one. It has our state bird, state flower, just really, really pretty. And there were a few different variations of this one too with different colors, but I really like how the blue kind of brought out the colors in the robin. Just very, very, very pretty. I love it a lot. And then the third one I got was a little axolotl, and I gave that one to TJ because he pointed that one out. He's been very into axolotls lately, and it was just a really, really, really cute pin. So I was really happy to pick these up. From Studio Kurahon, what I bought, which it took like maybe 5 minutes of deliberation, is this little amigurumi Smoliv. So they had so many different little guys. I think they were calling them Pokeorbs, which makes sense because they are small little orbs, and a lot of them were birds, but they were just so cute. I was torn between Smoliv, a Swablu, and Oddish were the 3 main ones I was looking, and then they had an Eevee one, which was super cute. All of them were really cute. They also had some massive ones too, which I wasn't gonna buy because I don't have the space for that, but little Smoliv is gonna go right on my desk. And again, just look at the little mouth. The little mouth. I love Smoliv, one of my favorite Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. Just such a little dope. I love him so much. So I ended up getting this, and I also got a little blue Pikmin sticker too. I just started Pikmin 1. And I really truly do not know how I went so long of my life without playing Pikmin, so I have to now show my support in any way that I can. Speaking of which, I also got the Pikmin Terrarium collection. I've been eyeing this blind box set for a really, really, really long time, and they're pretty expensive. Like, this one was $20, but because they're so massive, it makes sense, but it's really cute. So here are all the options. I haven't put mine together yet, but I got the one with the orange, so I'm gonna do that a little bit later, but it's super duper cute. I have to try to stay away from blind boxes because a lot of the times the stuff in them is really, really cute, and I end up spending too much money to try to get them all. So, but I decided this was one of the very last things that I bought. So I decided to splurge, and it was actually one of the last two that they had. So I figured, let's get it. I've been eyeing this one for a long time, and I got the exact one I wanted. And I want to give a shout out to this artist too. I wasn't able to buy anything from them. I had really thought about it, but I'm probably gonna make an order from their Etsy shop, and that is Joan of Bark. Their stuff was mega cute, very creative. They have like a Harlequin aesthetic, but also kind of a retro aesthetic. They have these really cute retro Halloween stickers, so probably once it gets to that season, I'm probably gonna pick those up because their stuff was really, really, really cute. And now let us get into the games. The very first one that I want to talk about is a very special one, and I did mention it earlier, and that is Cat and Boy. So the super cool thing that these guys were doing is this game is going to come out in Steam very, very soon. I don't remember exactly when they said, but very soon, but they made cartridges for the game show and then put them in little cassette boxes. They're so cute. So you can kind of see the cartridge in there. It's a real Game Boy cartridge, so I'm so excited. I loved the demo for this. It was so cute, and I had to support. I love indie games. They're so cool, and this has a cat. It has a black cat. As a lot of you know, my cat Luna is the light of my life, so I love supporting cat-related indie games too, specifically. But it was nice. I got to show them pictures of Luna. I bought their game. It was super duper cute. And yeah, so their game is coming out on Steam. I don't think they'll be making any more physical games, but I figured, hey, this is a pretty exclusive thing. I want to pick it up. This one also came with a little magazine too. TJ also bought a copy of this, but his version, they were out of the versions that have the zine, so they gave him some Game Boy candy instead. But they also give me a little Game Boy case, and in there's a little tiny dinosaur sticker. It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. So again, huge shout out to Howdy Rice Ball. I can't wait to get further into this game. And again, highly recommend, go check them out on Steam and wishlist this game if it looks interesting to you. It's totally a Game Boy game. It's so cute. And yeah, I'm really excited to get further into this. I also was able to pick up some DS games too, which this was actually the very first thing I bought of the day. This has been a game that I have wanted to re-add to my collection for a long time. I think I talked about the story of why I no longer have this game in my DS collection video, and that is Animal Crossing Wild World. There were 2 people that had Wild World during the day, and this was the cheaper one. It was $28, which it's been going up recently, but it came with everything. It came with absolutely everything. And it's a really clean copy too. I might just clean it up a little bit, but super duper clean. Very, very, very happy to have this. And now I'm done with all my Animal Crossing games. I have all of them. I feel complete. It feels so nice to have Wild World back in my collection, especially because I've been feeling a lot of nostalgia since emulation on the iPhone has become a thing. I see a lot of people playing Wild World, and I'm like, well, I want to play, but I want to play it on my DS instead. So now I can once again, and I am so happy about this one. The other cool DS find that I got was one that I actually played the remake of on the Switch, but have never owned myself, and that is The World Ends With You. Oh, this was such a happy, happy pickup. I was ecstatic to get this one. Like, my gosh. It was kind of like hidden. Not many people were paying attention to it, but I snagged it, and it is a beautiful copy. It's in a plastic case right now. That's just how they were storing their games, which I super appreciate, but it's beautiful. The case is gorgeous. Comes with everything. This was a great, great find. It's going for about $40 now anyway, so not too horribly expensive, but I just don't really see it a lot, especially in this good of condition. I'll see it loose sometimes, but complete in box, gorgeous, not very often. So this was a must pick up. I'm so happy to add this to my DS collection so I can finally experience this game how it's kind of meant to be experienced instead of the Switch version. And then we get into some other games to cross off my scavenger hunt list, starting with Dragon Warrior. So this was actually kind of a harder one to find. A few people had Dragon Warrior, but it wasn't a super duper clean copy, or it was a little more than I was willing to pay for it. It's a pretty cheap NES game. Like, this one I got for $7.95, which this was from Retro Taku, so because I paid in cash, they rounded down to $7, which was beautiful. And the only issue, there's a little bit of a sticker up there, but that's not too hard. It just says JB on the back, but that's not too tricky to get off. I am sure I will figure that out, but this is perfect for me. This is exactly what I wanted for it, so I'm super happy to add this to my collection and also cross it off my scavenger hunt list. So I've never actually played the original Dragon Warrior, so I'm sure I'm in for a treat. And even though I didn't find Harvest Moon Sunshine Islands, I did end up picking up Harvest Moon 64. I'm so happy to finally physically have this game. It has been so long. It's been so long. Last time I played 64 was on TJ's EverDrive, which was great, but this is just a game I really want to add to my very tiny N64 collection. I love Harvest Moon. I want to collect all the Harvest Moon games, but Harvest Moon 64 is a pretty dang good title, so I'm really happy to finally have this as a part of everything. So, yay! This was the other game that I bought from Marshall Cooley, by the way. So, you know, 2 shows in a row, I'm buying bangers. I can't help myself. And finally, we have the big one. Maybe some of you have already been able to guess at this point in time what is in this box, but this was a big purchase for me. I mean, not a big in terms of an expensive purchase. It was actually the second most expensive thing that I bought, Harvest Moon 64 being the most expensive, but I am ecstatic to have this. Yay! I got it. I ended up getting it. I am just so happy to have a PlayStation. And I'm sure some people are like, why didn't you buy like a PlayStation 2? Wouldn't have that been smarter? Yes. But I don't care, because I have an original PlayStation again for the first time in forever. And again, I'll tell that story soon, but so my plan with this, why I really wanted to pick this up too, is I want to kind of make a little video series about me going through and trying to recollect all the games that I had for my PlayStation from my childhood, which I'll warn you now, it's not like there were a lot of bangers in that childhood collection, but I kind of figured it's a cheap thing for me to do. I think it'll be kind of fun. I think it'll be kind of fun to pick up some old shovelware titles for the PlayStation, as well as some new ones that I didn't have growing up, but, you know, want to play natively on the console. So I am so happy to have this. Again, it's in pretty good condition. There's some yellowing on the bottom, which you can kind of see, but that doesn't bug me too much, given how yellow some of my other systems are. But also, the top is the part that I kind of care about the most. My old one is actually more yellow. I wouldn't say as yellow as the bottom, but kind of like in between. So it's a really clean console. Everything works super beautifully. It was a great price. I really just need to dust it. But it also came with a really nice controller too. Everything works super well. The only thing is there's a slight chip on the side, but nothing too bad. And then all of my cables as well. And then funnily enough, so again, without telling the story of my PlayStation, so I was left with nothing left of my PlayStation other than Tomb Raider 3, which I haven't been able to locate yet, and 3 brand new memory sticks. So I'm at least covered in this. So I figured I'd just show this off, but this was mine. I didn't buy this. But yeah, and there you have it. Those were all of my purchases from this spring's Detroit Retro Gaming Show. Again, I just want to give a huge thank you to the team for the Detroit Retro Gaming Show for letting me and TJ come in with the VIPs and giving us guest passes. It really does mean the most to me. And like, maybe it sounds a little geeky, but having grown up not having a lot of gaming friends, it's really cool to be able to go to these events as an adult and just make connections with strangers with like interests and stuff, and just talk games with people for a few hours, and just, I don't know, it really means a lot. And the fact that like me doing YouTube, that's kind of an outlet of that, is being able to meet new people that share gaming interests. But the fact that like my YouTube channel brought me to that point where I was able to go to an event like this as a guest, like that's wild to me. That's absolutely wild. So again, thank you so much. We'll be going to every show henceforth. Like, I was already solidified in that idea at the first one, but with all of the improvements they made this time around, like, this show is great. It's going places. They have a wonderful thing going, and it's incredible to see how much they want to keep expanding every single show. So the next Detroit Retro Gaming Show will be on November 2nd, so mark your calendars. Come to Detroit, come hang out with me, and it'll be a really great time. But I think I'm gonna go and put all of my treasures in their respective locations. I really hope you liked this video. Again, still kind of getting used to the vlogging thing. With the PlayStation video ideas, I might get a little bit better so I can document the process of picking those games up, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm still a little nervous, but we're gonna try. But if you like this video, maybe consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And if you went to the show, let me know. Comment below. I'd really love to know if you were also there. And hey, maybe the next one, maybe if you're gonna be there, we can say hi or something. Converse. But that is going to do it for me, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Boop.